As you know, the administration teased a big announcement on the cause of autism today. Oh, ye of little faith. So let's get right to it. This is obviously a very serious moment for the world and the United States of America. To the White House, what is the cause of autism?
The use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
No! No, it is not okay! We would like a second opinion and a third pronunciation. Look, there's already a ton of controversy around the lack of data tying acetaminophen in pregnancy to autism. And you can't even be bothered to pronounce the f***ing word correctly? Until maybe you get to the one word you recognize from your medicine cabinet?
Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol.
Well, I'm sure now they're known as Plaintiff A. Acetaminophen. That's when you know, when he looks up, that's his tell that he recognizes the word. Tylenol. Meanwhile, in other ABC news, young Jimmy Kimmel's coming back to television. I'll tell you, Jimmy Kimmel's flying high like Advil today. Acetaminophen's boom. Advil's like, what's up, motherfucker? You got a headache? Where you gonna turn? No, Kimmel's coming back. That campaign, and you know what? I'm joking around. I want to say this seriously. That campaign that you all launched, pretending that you were going to cancel Hulu while secretly racing through 4 seasons of Only Murders in the Building. That really worked. Congratulations. Wasn't it interesting to try and figure out all the tentacles Disney has in your daily life? It's one thing to swear off cruises, but the Avengers? Nah. How is it possible that by getting rid of one company, I can't watch Winnie the Pooh or Monday Night Football? Or listen to early Hillary Duff? So yesterday, I would sing more of it. Obviously, Disney is very litigious. It was rather shocking that this turnaround occurred because I was told that the original decision to get rid of Jimmy had nothing to do with the Trump administration and their explicit FCC threat that they could remove the show the easy way or the hard way.
My gosh, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump not agreeing with anything Jimmy Kimmel said or not.
I mean, gee willikers. All my days. I mean, I don't know why people would think that. We just randomly remove one show a week.
If Donald Trump wanted to take everyone off the air who had criticisms for him, there would basically only be a handful of individuals left on television.
That is funny, but it's also maybe a cause for self-reflection. Hey, if everyone on TV is criticizing me, except for like 4 people, and one of them is my daughter-in-law, am I the drama? Don't take my word for it. Ask Trump.
I'm a very strong person for free speech.
Almost inevitably, a statement like that will be followed up by a but, however, although That being said, but if you really, it's like one of those phrases like, I don't see color. But. So Trump's saying he's strong for free speech. Well, let's see that big butt of yours.
At the same time, when you have networks that where I won an election, like in counties, I guess it's 2,600 to 525. That's called a landslide times 2.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this. We don't quantify elections by county. We never have. We don't judge the election by how many counties one person wins and one person loses. Presidents don't ever say, well, I lost the popular vote in the Electoral College, but I won the landmass. That's not how these go. So Trump is up 2,600 counties to 525. And I guess if you were to divide that by the negativity directed at him?
But 97, 94, 95, 96% of the people are against me in the sense of the newscasts are against me. The stories are they said 97% bad. So they gave me 97. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad.
You see what we have here, people? 2,600 counties minus 525 counties divided by negative 97. I think you see what this all adds up to.
See, I think that's really illegal, personally.
Boom! Let me explain something. Free speech has always been a ratio. If the county vote were more equal, you could take a good story and make it bad without being jailed. But as our founders stated in the Constitution, when the delta between the sigma of counties divided by factorials of negativity are greater than pi, your inalienable rights turn into more of an expired Groupon. I'm sorry, this is how it goes. I didn't make the rules, blame the founders. Now, free speech isn't the only tent post of a free society facing redefinition. There's also this.
We're bringing back law and order to our country.
Oh, we're not talking about the show? Oh, okay. Because I'm not sure that's ever left us. He's talking about law and order as a foundational principle of civilized society. So how does Donald Trump propose bringing law and order back?
President Trump is publicly putting pressure on the Department of Justice and Attorney General Pam Bondi. In a post on Truth Social, the president said, what about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done, adding justice must be served.
You post that? Publicly? Sir, far be it for me to tell you how to run your post-judicial lawfare. But do we all have to be copied on this shit? We know you and Bondi talk in private. Epstein. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a Epstein's file. Cold. I have a cold. Now, most people would think a president ordering his independent Department of Justice to go after his political opponents is weaponizing the Department of Justice. That's why most people don't work in this administration.
It is not weaponizing the Department of Justice to demand accountability for those who weaponized the Department of Justice.
Yes. This is lawfare, but this lawfare is only fair because of how he fared under, I've run out of road for the metaphor, but I think you understand. But look, man, if Letitia James committed a crime, she should be held accountable. But what if she hadn't committed a crime?
Trump forced out top federal prosecutor Eric Siebert after his office failed to find incriminating evidence against New York Attorney General Letitia James.
He fired him for not finding evidence. Trump is going full Devil's Wears Prada on this one. I want an indictment for Letitia James on my desk or you're fired. But Mr. Trump, it's 3 in the morning and she didn't do anything. You woke pussy! There's 1,000 girls who would take your place in a second. And that sweater is pedestrian. That's I've never seen the movie, so if you've seen the movie, you probably go, I don't think that's the movie. By the way, this Siebert fella was appointed by Trump earlier this year. Look, at this point, it's so blatantly an abuse of power, and yet his defenders continue to reframe this as refreshing.
He's asking his attorney general in a public way to go after his political enemies. Very open about it. You're okay with that?
Well, I think what we know is President Trump is very open and transparent with the American people, and he speaks his mind. And that's what his supporters love about him, and that's what America loves about him.
No, that's what America loves about Dolly Parton. Transparent, speaks her mind. Yet Dolly rarely jails her political enemies. I mean, Senator Mark Wayne, Mark-Wayne / Mullen. Do you want to know how embarrassing your weak-kneed rationalizations for jailing political opponents ring? I'm going to play you a clip of a fellow senator, a fellow Republican senator. By the way, that's majority opinion. Not just here. Now, Cruz has supported this president through insults to his own wife's looks and to his own father's loyalties. And yet Cruz still manages to maintain a modicum of self-respect when it comes to this president trampling all over our Constitution. Sir, it brings me no pleasure to have to play this.
Look, I like Brendan Carr. He's a good guy. He's the chairman of the FCC. I work closely with him. But what he said there is dangerous as hell.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Senator Ted Cruz boldly stating that the FCC chairman threatening the licenses of networks is dangerous. And Senator Cruz, I would just say, maybe you should stop there. I would stop there. I would not continue with the thought. Perfect. No notes. All right, go on.
And I got to say, he threatens it. He says, we can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way.
What sort of the hard way? Oh, what kind of mobster have you ever heard? We can do this the hard way. We can do it the easy way, the hard way. Easy or hard. That's not the Godfather. That's Lenny from Mice and Men. The bunny. The bunny can do it the easy, the hard way. You got more, Senator, don't you?
And I got to say, that's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
That's not a Goodfellas quote. I know this because all of my decorative pillows have Goodfellas quotes on them. I mean, I would go home, I would say, that's me at home. Look at me. Now, Senator, a lesser man might tell you to go home and get your shine box, but I don't, because you wouldn't even know what that means. Ted Cruz, I mean, to do that with Goodfellas, with that accent, is there anything in pop culture that I love that you can't ruin?
But Dad, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat animals. But Lisa, animals are so delicious. There's the animal we get bacon from, the animal we get ham from, the animal we get sausage from. Dad, That's all the same animal. Smithers, release the hounds. Excellent.
They're not booing, they're saying boo earns. Imagine having to endure a Texas power outage with this guy. Who wants to hear my Apu? Anyone? Well, he ruined my love of The Simpsons. At least I've still got my favorite franchise, Star Wars, all to myself, so I don't have to.
The Force is strong with this one. There is no try. Do or do not.
At best, he sounds like Yoda with a sinus infection, trying not to come. Do or do? You may enjoy Star Wars, said Cruz, but there's one thing we'll never have in common, and that's my comfort movie, The Princess Bride, a fantastical tale of adventure and true love, with an outstanding cast. And, oh, you know what's coming! You know what's coming! With an outstanding cast, including the inimitable. Oh, it, just roll it.
So, what is it you have that's so worth living for? Presses on his chest, and Wesley goes, true love. Liar! Shut up, witch. I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. But after what you just said, I wish I wasn't. Don't say that name. What? Humperdinck? Humperdinck, Humperdinck, Humperdinck. I can't hear you! So.
Wow, that was a straight... I'm like, oh, the one-man show. Do you know how hard it is to make Mario Lopez uncomfortable? Truly. Mario Lopez. The man who, need I remind you, did this dance in a tank tee in front of everyone at the Max. Look, I don't want to get sidetracked by Ted Cruz's Vegas residency. I just want to say this to Trump's defenders. You don't have to bend over backwards trying to make Trump's authoritarian power grabs seem like the rule of law. He does not give a f*** anymore. He's saying it straight up. Trump is saying, the people like dictators. Trump is saying, I hate my opponents and I want them punished. And Trump is saying, I'll use all the levers of government at my disposal to accomplish that goal. So you can get on board with that and say, I'm with that. Or you can join the rest of us and fight like hell for this constitutional republic. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Hold on. It is a form of representational government worth preserving and defending. And as the great Winston Churchill once said,
we shall never surrender!
Motherfucker!
We are living in crazy times right now. People are feeling worried and depressed. However, there is some good news. The world is ending.
The end is near. At least that's what one corner of TikTok is claiming.
My fellow Christians out there, I want this video to help one another.
It's being called Rapture Talk, a convinced contingent of TikTok users who claim the rapture is happening today. Some even claiming to be selling all their possessions. One man says he got rid of his car.
I'm catching a flight to heaven in September anyway. Oh, I need the car.
You're going to heaven without a car? Good luck getting laid up there, buddy. Listen, if I believed my earthly body was going to leave this worldly realm, my first reaction would not be to turn a profit on Carvana. Come September, I will stand naked before my Creator. Are you interested in a 2017 Kia Sorento? By the way, I just want to say how unfair the TikTok algorithm is. It's giving some people a heads up about the end of the world. Mine is just all videos of guys power washing sidewalks. Now, while some people may or may not depart this mortal coil, for those of us left behind, there is a lot of shit we have to deal with. Chief among those, our president. Yesterday, Donald Trump held a major press conference to announce the cause of autism, and also to announce that RFK Jr. is officially a weirder color than him now. Now, it's just not natural. Now, we've known for a while that this administration has wanted to blame autism on vaccines, but yesterday's big announcement came with a plot twist.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol.
Tylenol! At least you finished strong. Now, I don't want to suggest there's been some disconcerting cognitive decline, but back in 2020, that mofo could spit out hydroxychloroquine no problem. So, everyone was waiting for Trump to blame autism on vaccines, but he zagged and blamed Tylenol, which is especially strange because nearly all health officials say there's no causal link between acetaminophen and autism. However, Trump has his own recommendation.
Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol is not good. Don't take Tylenol. Don't have your baby take Tylenol. Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. Don't take Tylenol. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Ask your doctor if it can only good happen for you. Trump is so pissed at Tylenol, he's going to start bombing the pain reliever aisles at Walgreens. Joke's on you, Trump. Even missiles can't get through that plexiglass. You're going to have to ring the customer service button like the rest of us. You can tell Trump doesn't understand what a woman goes through during pregnancy. But as a dad who didn't miss a single appointment, it's not true that only good can happen if you don't take Tylenol. Not treating a pregnant woman's fever could cause irreparable harm before the baby comes out of her butt. Read a parenting book, Trump. And Trump wasn't just playing fast and loose with acetaminophen. He made sure to throw some anti-vax classics in there, too.
And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. That have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently. Is that a correct statement, by the way?
No, but you had fun out there, and that's all that matters. But, for the future, typically a president should check something before announcing it to the nation. I mean, this is literally how they fact check on the Joe Rogan Experience. Yeah, if you have sex in space, your dick will actually explode because of gravity stuff. Is that a correct statement? So as we wait for the fact check, let's hear some of the data you've collected.
You have certain groups, the Amish as an example. They have essentially no autism. It doesn't exist with the Amish community, and they don't take all of this junk. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, are the Amish the best control group for this? So based on the Amish, the cure for autism could either be not taking Tylenol or being scared of a Roomba. Now, Trump didn't flat out say that kids shouldn't get vaccinated, but he did argue that the shot should be spread out rather than combined. And he had a very unusual explanation for why.
It's too much liquid. Too many different things are going into that baby at too big a number. You have a little child, little fragile child, and you get a vat of 80 different vaccines, I guess. And they pump so much stuff into those beautiful little babies. They're pumping, it looks like they're pumping into a horse.
I I'm sorry, they're pumping vats of liquid into the babies like horses? Are you sure you were at the pediatrician's office and not the Kentucky Derby? These poor babies, they inject them, hammer shoes on their feet, a little man rides them around in a circle. It's inhumane. Look, to me, doesn't sound like Donald Trump knows what he's talking about. Presumably, he has done enough research on vaccines to be an expert at this point.
The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. The mumps, measles, and the three should be taken separately.
Yes, the MMR vaccine, mumps, measles, I want to say Ringo, probably. Forget about taking them together. Trump can't even say them together. The whole point of this press conference was to finally give answers to families that have been desperate for decades. So for everyone's sake, will you please give us some assurance that these bold claims are built on concrete evidence?
This is based on what I feel.
Damn it! You know what? I never thought I'd say this, but maybe we should all do our own research. It's no secret Donald Trump sympathizes with Russia in its war against Ukraine. He blamed Ukraine for getting invaded, he berated its president in the Oval Office, and he made the ultimate gesture of friendship to Vladimir Putin, picking him up at the airport. So, safe to assume he spent this week at the UN continuing his full-throated support of Russia.
Breaking news we were following this morning. President Trump reversed his position on the war and voiced confidence that Ukraine can regain its territory seized by Russia.
Trump writing in part, Ukraine would be able to take back their country in its original form, and who knows, maybe even go further than that.
Damn! Trump went from Ukraine needs to accept Russian invasion to they need to invade Russia. When this all began, Trump said he'd end this war on day one, and instead, we've now joined both sides. I guess you can't lose a war if you're on both sides. Now, let's not overreact here. Trump isn't exactly known for his consistent positions. He could just as easily switch sides again tomorrow if he, I don't know, gets complimented by a Russian lady or sees a photo of that dog that looks like Vladimir Putin. Who pushes his opponents out the window? You do. But still, this is a surprising development. Maybe Trump changed his position after coming to a better understanding of the geopolitical implications of the situation. Or perhaps it was something a bit more personal.
Last month, President Trump rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin in Alaska, but is now sharing frustration.
I thought that was going to be the easiest one because of my relationship with Putin, but unfortunately that relationship didn't mean anything.
Oh. This season of The Golden Bachelor is f***ing weird. Hey, you know what? Don't get down on yourself, Donald. It's not your fault the relationship didn't work out. Who could have known not to trust Russian dictator Vladimir Putin? You're not a mind reader. But whether it was pursuing strategic objectives or merely getting tired of boys, this was a major development. Unfortunately, it was overshadowed by another international incident.
The president was joined by the First Lady today as he made his big address at the United Nations. But they had a bit of trouble on the way. They were taking an escalator when it stopped working, leaving the first couple no other choice but to walk the rest of the way up.
Yeah. I like how he's just looking around when it broke, thinking, do I walk up these 15 stairs or do I just live here now? But hey, this is a pretty standard inconvenience. I'm sure we will never hear about it again. Unless, of course, there's an entire right-wing media apparatus built on grievance and hyperbole that wants to breathlessly recount it as a harrowing brush with danger.
Trump and Melania were riding it up, and it just stopped. The First Lady lost her balance a bit, but steadied herself, thankfully, and then marched to the top. She could have been hurt.
It came to a grinding halt, and you can even see them kind of slightly lurching forward.
This is serious stuff. It's sitting ducks if, God forbid, there was a security threat.
They could have hurt the most beautiful First Lady in American history.
Oh, my God, you monsters. We're not talking about some uggo Eleanor Roosevelt here, no. You could have hurt someone hot. It's a good thing Melania's in such good shape, and it's a good thing Trump's ankles are the size of car tires. You all laughed at his cankles, but guess who's sturdy as a redwood? This cankle-having motherfucker. Now, the UN released a statement saying somebody at the top of the escalator inadvertently triggered a safety mechanism. So it seems like the whole thing is just a silly coincidence.
Coincidence or sabotage?
It doesn't look like a coincidence to me.
Something more nefarious happening than just simple technical glitches.
Absolute sabotage.
I've been caught on like 5 elevators in my life. An escalator has never stopped working mid-escalation.
I find it bizarre that just coincidentally, all these things just don't happen to work for the president when they work for everybody else.
Are we really doing this? Are we going all in on the president being a victim of escalator sabotage? Because the deep state wants him to get his steps in? Can we just have a day, people? I will admit, it's a little suspicious that the escalator just happened to break for Trump. But, on the other hand, things do break a lot around him.
You know, I pay all this money to teleprompter people, and I'd say 20% of the time they don't work. They don't work.
And I apologize for those lights. The only place I don't have a light's up here.
I feel like I'm in a sauna. So I don't know what hotel this is. But you ought to try turning on the air conditioning. I think this mic stinks, by the way.
So maybe it's not a coincidence. I mean, why does everything around Trump break? Is he being followed around by gremlins? Is that... Okay, yeah, maybe. Maybe that actually... That could be. That might be it. That might be it. So conservative media is furious that Trump was attacked by a stopped escalator. And apparently, some of them are furious that his people did nothing about it.
But that's a major security failure. And I was more, stunned at the reaction. Like, the leader of the free world is on the escalator, and the Secret Service is looking like, what do we do?
Yeah, what do we do? Do we just let this grown man walk upstairs? What do you want Secret Service to do? Wouldn't it have been more embarrassing if they had rushed in and made a big deal out of it? Thrown Trump over their shoulder like a kid having a meltdown leaving the Magic Kingdom? But look, there's no point trying to reason with them now. The right-wing train is leaving the station, so naturally, the White House is jumping on board.
Well, there was some concerning reporting over the weekend from the London Times, as you pointed out, that UN globalist staffers were basically plotting to set up the president of the United States. And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people. And I will personally see to it, Jesse.
Good. Can you people please decide if Trump is the strongest man who has ever walked the earth, or a sickly child with hollow bird bones who will crumble if he walks up 3 stairs? Now remember, the UN already gave an official explanation about why the escalator stopped, but see if you think the president's TV friends are buying it.
The spokesperson for the UN General Secretary said this. As the videographer, who was I don't buy this, by the way, was traveling backwards up the escalator, reached the top, the First Lady, followed by the President and Trump, each mounted the steps at the bottom. At that moment, it was 9:50 a.m. if you're counting at home. The escalator came to a stop. ...
We're making ellipses feel sinister now? What are these dots? What are they hiding? And don't get me started on semicolons. Are you a period or a comma? Pick one! But also, why does Brian Kilmeade think he knows better than the UN officials? What makes him an expert on escalators?
It's never happened to me before. I do a lot of shopping, go to a lot of malls, go to the second floor where the men's stuff is.
Yeah. I go right to the men's floor. I don't stop at the kids' floor. No. I shop in the men's section, even though sometimes a kid's XXL is basically a men's small and the designs are cooler. But that's totally not where I shop. Sometimes I sneak into the Spencer Gifts when my mom's not looking. Look, you know what? I'm sorry I interrupted you, Brian Kilmeade. I'm sure this story is going somewhere.
Go to the second floor where the men's stuff is, you know, because you walk in on the first floor. It never happened to me.
That's great.
That's it? Your whole story about the escalator is that you also once went up an escalator? Another fascinating addition to the discourse. And if I may also add, I too have been on an escalator.
That's great.
Since retaking office, President Trump has been redecorating the White House to reflect his personal style. Style which can be best described as C-3PO's taint. And it's a project that's still continuing today.
The White House is unveiling a presidential walk of fame featuring portraits of U.S. presidents.
Oh, you know what? This is nice. But if I was president, I wouldn't plaster every foot of the place with gold, but if you're going to, this is a nice, inclusive gesture. Mr. Trump, I applaud your class.
With the exception of former President Joe Biden. The new display just outside the Oval Office, along the colonnade there, shows a framed photo of an auto pen writing Biden's signature in place of the former president's portrait.
Damn it! He got me! So, apparently Trump is trolling Biden about the auto pen conspiracy. A hilarious burn that will make millions of Americans say, wait, what was that about again? But enough of this dumb story about the president's pettiness. Let's move on to a much more terrifying story about the president's pettiness.
This morning, after an intense public pressure campaign, sources tell ABC News President Trump's new hand-picked U.S. attorney plans to give him what he's been demanding and seek to indict former FBI Director James Comey, despite other prosecutors finding there's not enough evidence to charge him with a crime.
I don't know what's worse. Donald Trump weaponizing the Justice Department or the fact that he's doing it to go after James Comey. I mean, Trump, he's the dude who got you elected president. Remember, he announced a few days before Election Day that he was investigating Hillary for her email server. And America was like, we can't have a president with such disrespect for proper procedure. Let's elect Donald Trump instead. Like Donald, a question. Donald, how can you go after a guy who played a key role in you winning the election? What's next? Are you going to go after podcasts with names like The Chode Kings or Roiding Out with the Jizz Brothers? I mean, you don't even know if that's a real podcast or not. He may have appeared on that. Look, now, even though prosecutors say they don't have a case against Comey, Trump seems to have found a loophole. Appoint a prosecutor who doesn't care.
Sources say the president forced out his own appointed U.S. attorney for Eastern Virginia, replacing him with one of his personal lawyers, Lindsay Halligan.
Wow. One of his personal lawyers. She must have a ton of experience in the criminal justice system. I bet she knows her way around a grand jury.
Halligan, an insurance lawyer, has never prosecuted a criminal case in her career or presented evidence to a grand jury.
Okay. This sounds bad, but at least she is a lawyer. I mean, in this administration, that's well above the baseline. There was a really good chance he could have appointed the Jizz Brothers for this job, but you got to figure, if he's trusting Lindsay Halligan to go after his political enemies, the vetting process must have been extremely thorough.
She told the Washington Post that she ended up on Trump's legal team after showing up at one of his golf events in a suit, prompting Trump to hire her just weeks later.
This is how he picks members of his team? You, the lady in the suit, come join my legal team. Does Trump look at David Byrne like, wow, he must have been top of the class at Harvard Law? Wow. And I'm all for dressing for the job you want, but come on, she must have some other qualifications Trump valued.
She's also a former contestant in Miss Colorado USA.
This is all starting to make sense, though. When Trump hires people, they're either beauty queens or the ugliest bog creatures in the world. So, the bad news is Trump continues to appoint people to positions they're completely unqualified for. But the good news is Trump continues to appoint people to positions they're completely unqualified for. In other words, don't worry, James Comey, you don't have to learn how to make toilet hooch just yet.